Getting you ready as we are inside an hour away from tip-off. Anthony Davis and the defending champs, the Lakers, undefeated on the road, ready to face Joel Embiid and the Sixers. Keep this in mind, Davis is 1-3, shooting 36% from the floor, matched up against Embiid in his career, but those 4 games were when he was with the Pelicans, so first time in a Lakers uniform facing Joel Embiid. Doris Burke will be on the call for Lakers-Sixers, 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN, and she joins us now on SportsCenter. Doris, you know, some assume that LeBron and the Lakers would ease their way into the regular season, but that hasn't been the case here. Why have they played so well so far?
It's incredible to think when you look at the minutes for both Anthony Davis and LeBron James, both down a couple of minutes. Newcomers with Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell, and Wesley Matthews. But I think you have to start with LeBron James. In year 18, he has been nothing short of remarkable. He's at the top of the list for MVP candidates, shooting a career-high threes, making a career-high in threes, both percentage and the total number. I think you also have to look at the bench. You know, and I asked Frank Vogel just a minute ago, the play of Kyle Kuzma, Alex Caruso, KCP, how much of that is dictated by that they are now champions? They're all shooting lights out from three-point territory. He said it's a combination of things. Second year in a system, certainly better reads, able to understand the offensive flow, but their bench now third in the league, so this team got better, and the additions are still figuring it out. It's really scary for opponents right now against Los Angeles.
Yeah, they're doing all this too with LeBron's minutes down and Anthony Davis's minutes down, so that bench is doing some good work. Now for the Sixers, how is Doc Rivers handling these 2 stars, that is Embiid and Ben Simmons, compared to how he handled Kawhi and Paul George last year with the Clippers?
You know, we asked Tobias Harris about the influence of Doc Rivers. He said, number one, we're all confident in the structure and the organization, but you build and start things with Joel Embiid. Number 1 in the league in post-up opportunities, number 1 in the league in percentage of points out of the post, both passing and assists. And to me, Kevin, this is all about Ben Simmons on the offensive end. He'll guard 1 through 4. He absorbs a great responsibility nightly. If you needed him to guard a center, he could for a stretch. But to me, the regression in his shooting outside of the paint is something to keep an eye on as this season wears on. I don't need him to be a 25 points per game scorer, but I think there's something going on here. He needs to be more aggressive as a scorer and not just in spurts.
You are my spirit animal, Doris. Amen. Looking forward to hearing you on the call tonight, 7:30 Eastern on ESPN as we watch Ben Simmons warming up, Ryan.
All right, let's bring in my spirit animal, Tim Legler, and go around the NBA. Legs, I want to start you off with Philly, the top team in the East, hosting the top team in the West, the Lakers. What are you watching for in this one?
Well, you're talking about a guy in Joel Embiid who very arguably could be the MVP in the league to this point, but he has played against a lot of smaller front lines. So I am really anxious to see, can Joel Embiid continue to have this sort of dominance and success against a bigger front line and against arguably the best defensive team in the NBA. I want to see what the Lakers throw at Joel Embiid and if he's able to play through that first. And secondly, can he get the support he's going to need? And that means you might need 20 plus out of Tobias Harris. You might need, 15 plus out of Ben Simmons. One of those 2 guys, or maybe both of them, have to play at an all-star level, I think, to support the defense that Joel Embiid is going to see tonight in this one. These are 2 heavyweights and 2 of the best teams in the league, and I think it's a great preview. For me, it's a barometer game for Philadelphia.
All right, the Nets are in Atlanta facing the Hawks. Trae Young has scored at least 35 in 3 straight games. What do the Nets need to show you tonight?
Evolution defensively. I've seen better effort recently, particularly in the Miami game the other night, although Miami was shorthanded. But this is a team, Atlanta, that beat them twice earlier in the year. They put up 145 points on them in one of those games. So I want to see the continued effort of the Nets and understanding they're not just going to beat teams and win a championship because of great shot making. They're a team that's going to have to clamp down. So let's see if they can do it against a pretty high-powered Atlanta offense. Every night I watch the Nets, I'm looking for progress on that end of the floor.
Okay, very deep team there. And the Jazz have won 9 straight, but will be without Donovan Mitchell tonight when they host Luka and the Mavs. How do you view both of these teams?
Yeah, 2 teams in opposite places right now relative to where I thought they'd be at the start of the year. Both teams I thought would be contenders, and Utah's doing it. They're the hottest team in the NBA, 9 straight. I just look at their team and I say, this is a legit contender. Would not shock me to see the Utah Jazz, if they stay healthy, make a run for the Western Conference Finals at least. I don't think anybody can get by the Lakers, so I think everybody's playing for second place in the West. I think the Jazz are in that category. For Dallas, very disappointing. And I think Luka Doncic is starting to get a little bit frustrated because they can't generate offense when he's off the floor. And it's affecting maybe how Rick Carlisle wants to use him. There's no way that team should be a 500 team with one of the best players in the NBA. But that's where they are right now. Their offense hasn't been nearly as good as it was a year ago.
Okay, we'll see if they can turn it around tonight against Utah. Legs, thanks so much.
Reminding you, Ben Simmons and the Sixers coming your way in just over a half hour. You know, no one's going to question his defense. Top 5 defensive player, right? Mm-hmm. His offense, he needs to step up against elite teams. We'll see how that plays out against the Lakers tonight on ESPN.
76ers, Lakers, big-time matchup coming up on ESPN. And looks like the Sixers are getting ready with that man right there, Seth Curry. Huge godsend for this team. Career high 16.5 points per game. Leads the NBA with over 76% in true shooting percentage. And his GM, Daryl Morey, feeling very, very confident about his Sixers team. Take a look at some of the things he's been able to do right there. He was particularly busy on his first draft night in Philly, dealing Al Horford and his big contract plus draft picks to the Thunder for Danny Green, Terrence Ferguson. He also sent Josh Richardson to Dallas for Seth Curry before taking Kentucky's Tyrese Maxey in the first round of the draft. He's been a pleasant surprise. And our Stephen A. Smith caught up with Morey. Take a listen to what he had to say about this team.
What would you qualify as success for this specific Philadelphia 76ers team? Some people say a berth in the Eastern Conference Finals is a huge success. Some people say finals or nothing because you guys are this talented this season. Where do you stand?
Well, I think we're pretty championship or bust. I have to say, Doc Rivers obviously has won a title. I haven't gotten there yet. Joel and Ben haven't gotten there yet. But, I think you do this. You go into every season hoping to win the title. Not a lot of teams have a chance, but we absolutely have a chance, and we're going to continue to work hard until we give ourselves the best chance possible, and I think we have a very good chance.
All right, Daryl Morey laying down a gauntlet of sorts, and Stephen A. Smith is back with us to talk about it. Now, Stephen A., when you look at how this Sixers team is constructed currently, how well positioned are they to make a title run?
Well, they're in pretty good position because the reigning defending Eastern Conference champion Miami Heat look like a shell of themselves right now, primarily due to injuries, no doubt. But nevertheless, they're not who they used to be. When you consider the Milwaukee Bucks, yeah, they had a Drew Holiday, but the bottom line is that you have to see it to believe it because too many opportunities they've had to really step up to the plate, and they've missed out on those. How many chances are you going to get at the apple? The Boston Celtics don't appear to be deep enough. When you look at the Philadelphia 76ers, the acquisition of Seth Curry, along with the Danny Green, the way that Tobias Harris has been playing. You've got Seth Curry shooting over 55% from three-point range, and you're finally getting Joel Embiid to act like somebody that's 7'1", 260-plus pounds because you've got his behind in the post. He's leading the league in post-ups, and obviously, they're effective in the post area as well. So as a result of that, clearly they're a favorite. The problem is that the Brooklyn Nets are in the same conference, and I don't give a damn what kind of struggles the Brooklyn Nets are going through. When you've got Kevin Durant leading the way, and your sidekicks are James Harden and Kyrie Irving, there is no excuse whatsoever why they would not make the finals. They know it. The pressure's on. Pressure might break pipes in their situation. I doubt it, though, particularly with Kevin Durant leading the way. So I would tell you it's Brooklyn first, but Philadelphia's in the mix. That can't be denied.
Okay, just hearing you talk about Kyrie Irving and James Harden as sidekicks boggles the mind, but that is exactly how it is with the Nets. Now, Stephen, let's talk about the MVP race. Some sports books have LeBron as the MVP frontrunner. Have you been more impressed with the play of LeBron or Joel Embiid so far?
Well, for me, I'm more impressed with Embiid because I'm seeing things from Embiid in terms of consistency that I haven't seen from him before. In LeBron's case, I'm incredibly impressed, but I'm also allowed to take it for granted. When you've been to 10 NBA Finals, when you've won 4 championships, when you're a 4-time league MVP, when night in and night out you show up and you answer the call and you're age 36 and you're one of the leading defensive players in the league, by the way, performing the way that you perform when you're manning up against somebody else. You just can't speak to how surreal LeBron James has been. But but nevertheless, it's not surprising because you've seen greatness from him for so long, which is why in my mind he's the second greatest player in the history of basketball. In the case of Joel Embiid, it's an aberration. You've seen what he can do, but you've never seen the consistency. The fact that you see the consistency, you got to give credit to Doc Rivers for making him getting his behind in the post, surrounding Daryl Morey, surrounding him with shooters. And also, you just got to look at it from that standpoint and say, hey, he's trying to be the best big man alive right now, and he's making noise in that regard. I'll give credit where credit is due. He deserves all the praise in the world. But again, you've got the Brooklyn Nets standing in your way. And I would remind you that Kevin Durant, 18-month absence from Achilles heel surgery, out 18 months, comes back in his first 13, 14 games and is averaging 30 on better than 50% shooting from the field and better than 43% shooting from three-point range. That dude right there is in this conversation as well.
Absolutely. We don't talk about him enough being in that conversation. So thank you so much, Stephen A. By the way, we're looking